and welcome everyone to A Million Mums for Informed Consent. I'm the founder of the movement. My name is Jason, and today we are going to commence a series of interviews with a very special guest, a lady who is the founder of Embody Birth for more than 25 years. She's an independent and international educator. She's an advocate for all women, and her background is Palestinian Lebanese. So, what she doesn't know about survival is not worth knowing. Her name is Maha Al Musa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Please ignore my inability to pronounce properly. However, I'm going to bring her on right now. I'm thrilled and delighted to introduce this incredible lady, and we're going to have a discussion about many, many things that affect all women today, particularly in light of what's going on in the real world in 2021. So without further ado, let me introduce you to a woman that you are going to want to know and listen and hang off every word she's got to say. Here she is. Maha, welcome to the show and welcome to A Million Mums.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jason. Lovely, lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
Look, thanks very much for joining us. It's been an absolute thrill to chat to you previously and to work together to work out how we can best work with our audience to explain to them and provide information for them that they are desperate for. Let's start the conversation by just saying, how are you responding to what's going on in the world today, given that you're in up near Queensland, I'm in New South Wales, and we've got plenty of people from all over Australia watching today. How are you interpreting what's happening?
Well, it's a huge, huge situation that's going on all through the globe. And to me, what I see is a narrative that has come down the line from the top through the hierarchy, and it is affecting all of us. For me, I don't believe that it is about necessarily health. I think that it is about taking away freedom and power over. And, you know, Jason, I work in the birthing world. I've been working in this industry for 25 years as an independent voice. And I have always stood solid for mothers and babies to be centered as the experts of their own bodies and the experience that is a natural, mammalian, biological, physiological experience of the mother, the body, the heart of who we are as women. And what I have seen in that 25 years, so it's not just what's going on now, it's on a continuum of what has been happening and the severing of the connection of our innate knowing and knowledge as women in birthing. And once a system gets in between that innate knowing, a mother and her baby, and severs us from that, that is when control and power comes in. And it is based on fear, creating fear around one's body and the experience. And then women will lose that connection to their instincts and their mammalian roots. And that is what we are seeing. We are seeing babies being born through portals of fear because of an externalized fear that is being placed onto mothers through the experience. So we don't see birth as a rite of passage, as a ceremonial, sacred initiation. We see it as a medicalized, pathologized event. And so the body is an illness. And this has started from 2 decades ago. So I birthed my first son 25 years ago in 1996. My second in 1999, and then I had my third baby in 2008 when I was 46, a home water birth. And so I saw through those decades what was going on in the birthing world. And when we birth babies through those portals of fear, we create the imprint of fear, not just for the baby and for the mother, for the family, but for the society. And this is what I see happening more and more. as we interfere with this instinctual rite of passage, as we don't support and truly care for mothers and babies from a heart perspective, what we then see is experts coming in and taking over the experience as though they know all and the mother and baby know nothing. And as I say in embodied birth, there is a psychic highway that runs between a mother and a baby. And this psychic highway is there for a reason, for us to listen deeply so we can expand into the experience emotionally, energetically, physically, psychically, to know what we are doing as mothers. But when we lose that connection because of this externalized fear and this fear mongering that is coming at mothers from all areas, then we are no longer anchored and grounded in our bodies. And then we believe that somebody else knows better than we do. And that's when the dominoes start to collapse. And so what we are seeing now over this last 18 months is a part of that domino effect. Put in fear, sever us from our innate wisdom, take over control, become an illness, a pathology. We need the pharmaceuticals. We no longer are reliant on ourselves. And this has escalated over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. As I said, I had my last baby in 2008. And that's when the severing of the independent midwives, supporting mothers, home births, all of those things were gravely limited. And women were being put into the system or the hospital that controlled the way in which we birth. And that is where the fear was generated, when we lost independent midwives and we lost the knowledge of that physiological mammalian blueprint of birth. So that's what I see because of the work that I do. And then I see the escalation of the vaccinations as well for the children, which has also trumped the idea of supporting breastfeeding. Yeah, which is also from our mammalian roots. So if we are not supporting and birthing women through the portals of love, then that same love nectar that emanates from our breasts is not being supported to feed our babies as well. That's on a more esoteric level, but even on a physical level. Yeah, when we birth our babies vaginally, babies swallow mother's vaginal fluids, that's the foundation of our microbiome, and then the breast milk seeds and feeds that good bacteria. What we have is so many children or babies being born in a way that they miss out on these vital foundations of what it is to establish who we are as human beings, that imprint of health and wellness from the outset. And I'm not talking about emergency situations or times when there needs to be intervention when it's necessary. I'm talking about the factory line that all women are pushed through, that limitation. And that is the only choice we have. And that's what we're seeing now. The only choices we have is what's dictated to us from the
Yes.
system, from the government.
Yes.
And it is a reflection, it mirrors the imprint of birth. And the other thing I want to say as well is what we are also seeing when we understand pre and perinatal psychology. We understand implicitly that this energy of the imprint of receivership and being welcomed into the world is a very particular kind of bonding that is enveloped by love, the hormone oxytocin, which we are meant to receive at birth. It is the imprint of what humanity is meant to be, look and feel like.
Mm.
And what we are seeing is people who are in charge of us, who are leading us, who have trauma around the way in which they've been welcomed into the world. And I can categorically say probably 95% of the people leading us probably have not been received and welcomed into loving states through birth. I'm only just putting that out there.
Mm.
But when I see the energy of fear permeated constantly on this planet, It makes me wonder, how were these people birthed and cared for, from that
Mm.
time of babyhood? Were they nurtured? Did they feel bonded? Were they attached or were they severed? Did they come into a world of anxiety? Were their cords cut? When we cut the cord, the baby has to take a breath. We are asphyxiating babies because the cord is pulsing and the baby is receiving all of that beautiful oxygenated blood. And then the baby takes a breath when they're ready. So, what we have is a fearful, adrenaline, fast paced, impatient world. That's what I see. And the people who are in charge, I think, lack this connection to their own trauma.
Yes.
And it can be unconscious. They're not even conscious of it. But this is the world that we are seeing escalating, that we are inheriting. And I am doing everything I can to educate people to say, slow down. Number one, yeah, we're
Mm.
run by this adrenaline. Slow down, stop, feel into the body, breathe, connect to the pineal gland, connect to your psychic intuition, connect to your heart, because what we have is an upside down world,
Mhm.
a world that is gaslighting us, especially as mothers.
Yes.
What we know to be true, we're being told, no, that's not true.
Mm.
No, 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 you're wrong. No, no, no,
Mm.
you must follow the sheep, follow the crowd, follow what we say. We are in charge of you and your baby and your children.
You make a very,
Mm.
very good set of points there. And I
Yes.
just want to just pause on that moment and talk about the concept that you brought up of fear.
Mhm.
How is the fear manifesting that's broken in childbirth? Is it manifesting in the child firstly, or is it manifesting in the mother that loses her connection with her child? How
Mm.
does that work?
Well, this is a big, long topic, but firstly, how we are conceived has
Mhm.
an impact on the imprint of fear or love. In utero, the baby feels everything. Everything that the mother feels, sees, experiences, thinks, says, does. A baby receives that as visceral messages as they marinate in the womb. Yeah. Mother and baby are a dyad, they are one. The
Mhm.
mother's experience affects the baby's experience. The baby's development affects the mother. We have lost this understanding. So we also have the chemicals that run through our body, or the hormones when we are pregnant, the endorphins, the oxytocin, the mysterious flow of energy, and the things that are unseen but felt by a mother, that are often not articulated or valued in society. So, what we are seeing now is many mothers being run on this adrenaline and this panic from the outset, from when we get pregnant. Who do we go to? We go to the doctor's office when we are 6 weeks, 8 weeks pregnant. So, our first port of call is stepping into the system, who then can, through our own mindset, tell us what it is that this journey will be about for you. So
Mm.
it's already set, it's already rules and regulations, it's already a prescribed pathway. Yeah,
Yes.
this is how pregnancy is going to be. And then we get bombarded with the ultrasounds. You needing this vaccine or that vaccine. We are bombarded with not what's possible, but what's impossible, what we can't have, what we can't do, what it
Mm.
won't be like, unless it's within the parameters of the limitation of the system. And
Mhm.
then it's okay. So we are already molded and conditioned and entrained when we walk this pathway through pregnancy. That is 95% of women's port of call.
Indeed it is. And so this is showing me automatically where mother's intuition is now doubted by the
Mhm.
system.
That's
And
right.
and is it through repeat pregnancies by having more children that the reason why mothers change so quickly. And they'll often say, oh, my first child, I made all my mistakes on. That's what my mother said to me. I was the eldest. The second one, I worked out what it was. And the third time round, he brought himself up, was the way that she used to joke. Mum was a very busy nurse, but she could explain that to others. And she was a midwife, unbelievably. And so that was her perspective in that system. So, but she also was the person that coined the phrase that is what A Million Mums for Informed Consent is all about, which was no one gets between a lioness and her cubs. And so that's where that came from. And it's so true, right? So the question is, where was the severing of mother's intuition and how is that discredited? And is that why we have such a huge response at A Million Mums from mums that realize that that's incorrect?
That's right. That's right. And this is a part of what I'm talking about. And this is the evolution that I have seen. So I'm talking from my personal experience
Yes.
as a mother, but also as an educator for the
Yes.
last 25 years of what I have seen. And I can't speak for everybody because each experience is different. So I'm talking about an umbrella sense of what I'm getting from working in this industry. And globally, I travel the world and teach. So everywhere I go is the same narrative of fear around birth, of the pain of birth, of waiting for the instruction from the outside. So the work to bring women home to their own hands, hearts, wombs, and babies is the work that I do in Embody Birth. And a part of that work is that stop, feel, listen. So it is mothers who need to take now that responsibility and that rite of passage, own that, claim it. We have to take it back and we have to value the experience. And so this is where the severing, I think, has happened slowly but methodically over these decades, is that we do not value the experience of the mother anymore. So we as mothers, when we speak from our truth, as I said before, we are gaslighted. We know when our children has the slightest little cold, or we pick up the essence of something different in their
Yes.
body.
Yes.
Something is happening. I can feel it. I'm connected.
Yes.
But often if we go to the doctor, we are told, no, that's you're just making that up, or no, it can't be that. Or we are gaslighted and told, that's not what you know. I know better. And, I tell a story when I had my baby at 46 and I went to the doctor to get my bloods done because I always had low iron. I knew my body. And he said to me, you're 46 having a home birth. You should be, booked into the hospital. And I said, Doc, how about this for an idea? How about we start with what's possible, not what's impossible? And this is my third baby. Guess what? I know what I am doing as a mother.
Yes.
9 words that terrify the hell out of the system.
Yes.
You know what you are doing as a mother? How on earth could that be? So that diminishing and denoting us as what we know as mothers is escalating all over the world. And that's what I'm saying to women. Come back to what do you know? Trust in it. Believe in it. Follow that instinct. Follow that intuition. Don't hand your power over so easily to the other. As we say in Embodied Birth, you are the expert. You are at the center of the experience with your baby.
Yep.
Own that. Know it. Walk that path. And the more that we can trust in ourselves as mothers, the less reliant we are on that outside expert. When we can claim and own our expertise, truly on a somatic body level, not just a thinking intellectual level. It's not intellectual. It's felt in the body. It's felt in the body. And when we birth our babies vaginally and in a physiological sense, through this mammalian pathway, as I spoke about, we get to feel deeply. We go to the underworld. We go to the underground where that transcendence happens, where that transformation happens. And I say in embodied birth, women all over the world are being robbed of this experience, of these physiological markers for birth. And so too are our babies. Dr. Michelle O'Donnell has talked about this in the age of the modern day, that we are losing our connection to love and
Mm.
bonding and attachment because women and babies are not experiencing the hormone oxytocin in birth. It is essential for us to feel that connection to that love hormone so we can bond and attach in that deep, innate, instinctual place with our babies. And that's not to say women who have a cesarean or interfered with birth do not bond with their babies or attach. Of course they do. Another doctor, Dr. Sarah Buckley, talks about the hormonal gap. So if you've had a birth, C-section or drugs, what we need to do is hold our babies close, breastfeed if we can, skin to skin, use the sling, keep your baby close to you, and you can bring that hormonal gap, what was missed out on, back together. We can repair that. But wouldn't it be best if we could fully 100% have that experience of physiological, loving, infused with that love hormone kind of birth from the outset? That is what I am advocating and fighting for 25 years. And when we do that, Jason, that voice that is, from the deepest part of our womb, that shouts from the rooftops, that says, you are not coming between my babies and me, that gets gifted to the world when
Yes.
we value the experience of birth from that self-referenced autonomous place.
Yes.
So if you ask me what is happening in the world now, I can guarantee you that a lot of what's happening is because we have robbed women of this experience.
Yes. Well
That's
said.
what's happened.
And so clearly, then, a million mums is here with a purpose and a reason.
Yes.
And it's about empowering women through the collective knowledge, esoteric knowledge, but
Mm-hmm.
really it's ancient knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to mum, she used to say to me that in the clinical situation of the hospital, in an ED or on the ward or wherever she was working at the time, and she was eventually a flight nurse with Air Ambulance and would
Mm-hmm.
fly all over the country retrieving very sick people. But she always said and maintained that you must trust a mother's intuition. A
Mm-hmm.
mother always knows,
Mm-hmm.
always.
Mm-hmm.
And to me today, what you have just said has clarified the jump or the switch away from that
Mm-hmm.
inherent deep in your gut knowing
Yes.
to go to what has been seen by a scientist, reported to a government, and turned into public policy that then
Mm-hmm.
filters back through the system, the medical system, dictated by that Medicare card that says, because it's free, that is what you will do, and you'll follow the
Mm-hmm.
system into childbirth, which seems to me that we're turning into a factory, a government run factory, instead of this spiritual, divine connection that
Mm-hmm.
is the creation of life,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you stand in the system. And what I'm finding in the informed consent movement is that if you strip away all of our rights to choose whether what we put into our body, if you take away my career, my livelihood, my home, and everything else, me personally have decided that I'm not taking your medicine. And it's because of the fact that you're doing all of that that I, as a man, smell a rat. And that's enough for me to get my back up. But I've also done my research that tells me that I'm going to be okay if I catch this virus, and I
Mm-hmm.
know how I'm going to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I come to this great big conclusion, therefore, that it is my free will that is the only thing that I'm allowed to keep at the end of the day, which tells
Mm-hmm.
me that this is an entirely a spiritual event that we're living through.
Mm-hmm.
And the on the other side that's forcing against free will is what I determine as hive mindedness or
Mm-hmm.
groupthink, or we all must do the same thing and a one size solution fits
Mm.
all, which
That's
we
it.
all know fits no one at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
from
right.
that perspective, where do we go forwards, if you're a new mum or maybe planning another pregnancy, what might a mum do to determine if this is a pathway that she goes, you know what Maha is saying is absolutely right. I never thought of this before, but now I'm realizing what my mother or even my grandmother had told me. I think I'd like to explore this a little bit more. What do I do next?
Mm. Well, the first thing that we need to do is have the awareness to know that this is available to us.
Hmm.
So women have been so conditioned that they don't even realize that this pathway exists. And the work that I do in Embody Birth, Jason, I do want to say this, is that I am never coming over the medical system. I
Yes.
am saying they are necessary too.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a value in that. But what I'm saying is, hey, there's another path. If you're interested to come and have a look at this, if you feel that it resonates with you, it is also available. It's also possible. It is also there for you. And we are not saying that that cannot exist, only I can exist, because then I'm doing exactly the same thing. So we are saying we are opening up the field. We are opening up the field, as Rumi says. Outside of our ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And within that field should be all choices, all options, not just one way of being.
Yes.
So I will say to women, if you feel within your heart that this resonates with you, know that it is available to you. Know that there are people like me and others working in this arena. And we have to stand very, very strong, very anchored in our spiritual knowing, because it is so easy, just one word, one sentence. If we are not strong and holding that place steady, we can just fall down very easily because of that hive mentality that you spoke of. Yeah, because the psychology of all of this is that these people in charge know that the human condition, the need that we have, is the need to belong. So they are playing with this psychology that not many people want to stand out from the crowd. Not many people have that ability to stand out and go against the flow of the tide. That is a very deeply grounded and cultivated place. It's a very cultivated place of body, mind, heart, and spirit. If we come to that place, that takes a lot of work. I didn't get to where I am now by not working hard, by not having the childhood that I had, not having the cultural roots that I've had. So that has brought me to this place today now with you.
Mm.
So I have cultivated and worked on that emotional intelligence as well. How do I stay strong in the face of adversity? Can I be spiritual? You have to be ready to walk on the hot coals. Yeah, this is not an easy journey. And
Mm.
as you know, Jason, I was the woman who stood up in the worldwide media, breastfeeding my daughter until she was 8.5 years of age, to natural term. And I stood from 49 to 53 years of age, saying that it is a mother's choice, whatever that choice is, whether that is to formula feed, whether that is to breastfeed, whether that is to do mixed, whether that's a milk bank. That is our prerogative and our choice.
Hmm.
We are intelligent beings as mothers. Yeah. We have a voice. And if
Yes.
we don't know, we can ask.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm smart enough. If I don't know, if I need to take my baby to the doctor because I have that instinct, that sixth sense that something's not right, that is my prerogative. Yeah. To take my baby there and to be cared for.
Yes.
Or if I want to take the natural route, whatever that is, nobody owns my experience or my baby. And
Yes.
that's what's happening here.
Yes.
Global ownership of mothers, babies, and
Mm.
children,
Mm.
and the devaluing of us. And
Yes.
I'm tired of it. And that's why I'll keep going for another 25 years. I don't care. I will keep going
Mm.
because I know my truth.
Mm.
I know what I am doing as a mother. The 9 words that terrify the system. But we've
Yes.
got to keep standing strong.
Yes.
But we have to and know that you will stand in the face of adversity with all those spears coming at you. Yeah. This is a spiritual, I don't like to use the word war, but this is a spiritual rite of passage journey for those
Mm.
of us who are awake and who are
Yes.
conscious and
Yes.
who know the truth. But in that truth should be choices for everybody. To vaccinate, to not vaccinated, do your research, say yes, say no, say I don't know. That is your prerogative as a human being.
Yep.
That is your prerogative. And we, as mothers and fathers, as parents, we care for these children. Yeah, like gold.
Of
We
course.
care and love and our children. It is as though we don't love our children. That is
Mm.
what the message is that they are trying to impart. You don't love your children. We need to take them and be responsible for them because you can't. You can't
Yeah.
care for your child. This
Yep.
is nonsense. And
Yes.
this is the conditioning. And people are falling into the potholes, the traps.
Yes,
Stay
they are.
strong.
Yes, they are. You make a very, very good point. And if we can tie that back into our current situation, and I also want to ask you briefly in a moment about emotional intelligence, because in the
Mm,
corporate world, it's the great term that everyone's getting
yes.
used in training, and it's the new industry within the corporation. So there'll be many mums watching right now that'll be thinking, yeah, I have heard that term. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But when you consider where we are in the world today, it's like you're losing your grip on reality. You're meant to doubt everything that's going
Mm,
on, and the government has facilitated it by its practices it's doing in this so-called COVID management scheme that we're in, with the
mhm,
lockdowns, with the removal of business, the removal of your jobs, the removal of everything is under the banner of safety, but
mm,
it's only on the safety that the government is deeming that's
mhm.
necessary. I mean, how do we deal, for example, with teenage suicide? I mean, there was
Terrible.
an article in the Australian just this week that 8 teenage girls have taken their lives in the first 7 months of this year, when we're in lockdown, and you've got young, beautiful, hormonal girls that are locked, that can't get out, and they
Mm,
can't see their friends, and you're just thinking, this is not the reality that we're dealing with here. Where are we going next? I mean,
mm,
it's like you now have to become dependent on the system financially. 58% of all Australians last week, I heard, had have some form of welfare
mhm,
being paid to them. I mean, that's just an impossibility. Where's the money coming from? Clearly,
mm,
that exposes that the government will never be able to pay these debts back. We're already over $2 trillion in borrowed money just in 18 months, which is somewhere in the vicinity of 4 times more than all our previous debt combined. And it's going up because we're gone into another lockdown, and then there'll be another lockdown. And New South Wales is talking about going to now not just to the end of August, but to the end of September,
yeah,
and then into October and into November. I mean, this woman in charge of this state, it looks like she is intent on suffocating the entire state of New South Wales just to prove a point. I mean,
mm,
where does it come from? Um, is it the mothers that are going to lead us out? Is it the general population? Where is this
mm.
gut saying, okay, that's the line in the sand?
It's a big, big question, Jason. That I mean, it's huge. It's huge, and it is the tsunami. It is the
Yes.
tsunami of control, and that is why they know that this kind of thing works. Because what is it that we need as human beings? We need to know what's happening. We need to have a semblance of control. We need to be able to live our lives with that sense of freedom. And we can say that freedom is an inside job, but that is a very tough thing to cultivate,
Mm.
to suddenly have that sprung on you, and especially for the young people. My boys are 21 and 24. This is devastation for this age group.
Yes, it
You know,
is.
absolute devastation. This is when they get the backpack, get on the airplane and go traveling. So
Yes.
essentially what I also see is that the if we are all brought to this world and we all have a gift, we are all here for a purpose. And that purpose is revealed to us over the years, over time.
Mhm.
And we are finding out who we are. What is my purpose? What is my gift? And that is thwarted, and that is being taken from you. Your very purpose of being is out of your control.
Mhm.
And again, that's why I see it as a spiritual attack,
Mm, mm.
because my purpose comes from the fountain of spirituality, of why I am here, why I am alive, why I've arrived in this body in this time. And I can't give my gifts to the world. And what we are seeing, it's the creative gifts, it's the creative arts that are the ones that are suffering the most. The musicians, the artists, the poets, the writers, the creative people, the actors, the theatre. Why is it that it's
Mm.
these areas of vocation that are being hit the hardest as well? Because these are where people think for themselves, where they create shows, they create songs, they create music from that place of the heart. Yeah. So all we
Absolutely.
are valuing is the clinical medical model. So if you're a worker who is an essential worker, that is usually health medical. That's all we value. That's what the message is that we're getting. We only value sickness and being unwell. We
Mm.
don't value healthy, well, emotionally referenced sovereign people, you know, giving their creativity to the world. We're
Yeah.
thwarting that.
Yep.
That
You're
is just terrible, terrible situation.
in order to preserve life at all
Mm,
costs, we have literally destroyed all life.
yes. The meaning of life, the purpose of why
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yes. Yes.
We're
Exactly
taking
right.
that purpose away.
And we're relying solely on fear in order
Yes.
to push this message. And therefore, what's happening now is then you can go full circle back to this whole point of our interview today is what you're saying stems from childbirth. So if you're instilling fear at
Mm,
birth, then it makes sense that mother and child will respond to fear as its highest priority in order
mm,
to understand the world around them. So
mhm,
it's kind of like it's automatic manifestation of
mm,
fear. And
mm.
that's why you need only have fear on the news, fear at school, fear by the government, press
Yes.
conferences every day that now have a premier, a health officer, a health minister, a police minister, and getting out there. You will do this. It is bad. This is the
Mm,
fine. The fines are going up. Stay at home. But a few small people are causing all the problems. Fear,
yes.
fear, fear of the unknown. And it's
Yes.
an obsession. So
Obsession.
what we're revealing,
Exactly.
what we're revealing now is that it truly does come from within,
Yes.
that the truth will set us free, but
Mm,
we have to go find that truth for ourselves.
mm,
And it's what I've always said is that you must do your own research. And yes, it's complicated, and that doesn't mean just googling something because Google
mm,
will and is known for hiding what it doesn't want you to find.
that's
So you've
right.
got to look a little bit further. But that's the purpose of doing what we're doing and introducing you to other like-minded individuals who are sharing in the knowledge that's very quickly becoming esoteric or hidden knowledge. And
Mm,
just on that point, if I can just do a little bit of just a run around back again, I did mention the point of emotional intelligence, and I just
mm,
know that there will be men that will watch this video, this interview with their wives, and they will go, "Oh yeah, I remember doing a course on that at work, and I just did it." But can we just backtrack a little bit, just briefly frame what that actually means, please?
mm. Well, in my language, in the way that I see the world, is that
Yes.
emotional intelligence is a little bit like proprioception. I know how my body moves in space. I understand how emotions affect the inner world, the inner space, and how that affects the relationship with the outer world. So being able to be mindful about my emotional self and how that relates to others. So that includes compassion, empathy, care for the other, having an awareness of how I relate to others. Yeah. And it comes back to also that thing of patience, slowing down, feeling, feeling into, rather than operating from that primal survival brain. Yeah. It's coming into that rational, intelligent side of our brain,
Mm,
that ability to feel the other as well as feel ourselves. That's the dichotomy of the emotional intelligence,
Mm.
is to understand self-control in relationship to others around me. How do I relate on an intelligent level where I can be seen and heard, but so can you? And
Mhm.
how can I be understood? And how can you be understood? So that excavation into the self, if I can do that, that means I understand the excavation that you are doing into yourself and where your behaviors, actions, choices come from. So I'm not centering myself in your world. I am able to see your world from a distance, but in connection too. For me, that's what emotional intelligence is that ability to have empathy, but to be solid and anchored in my own emotional self-reference knowing without projecting my wounds, my traumas, my pains onto
Mhm.
you, to be able to have that boundary, to separate. You are an individual and I am an individual, and we are in relationship to one another through these portals again of love, compassion, kindness, gentleness, understanding each other.
And
Yeah.
also the ability to have your own perspective that is not
Yes,
knocked out because you think differently to the herd.
that's exactly right. We
And
are
so
individuals.
that
Yeah.
look, exactly, it just it makes total sense. Now,
Mm.
one of my survival, let's say, strategies that I use is that when it's really hitting hard,
Mhm.
I'll often say, and I'll take the time to sit back, reflect, meditate, recover, replenish, nourish, all of the things that I need to do to get up and fight again tomorrow.
Mhm.
And it was my mother that used to say to me, "You come from good, hardy Russian stock. What
Mm.
doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Get up, have a pity party, and then get on with it." And that's all you could do. But I look at it and I say, you can always find in the negative or in what's wrong, you can always find the solution. And
Mhm.
that is, how do I turn a negative into a positive? And what I see just from your explanation there from emotional intelligence is that we are all stuck at home now. We
Mhm.
are all with only our loved ones if we're lucky enough to have our children at home with us. And of course, we're not talking specifically about people who are living on their own at the moment, which must be
Very hard.
terribly difficult for those
Mm.
people in weeks or long periods of being isolated by themselves and only having their computer and their phone with them. It must be horrible. But where we are at the moment, mums and dads who are watching this, know that when you are at home and you are on your own, that this is the time that you can create processes of self reflection, which is the
Mm.
art of learning meditation and the ability to slow the brain, concentrate on the breathing just for that, and allow yourself to escape your body through the idea of creating images or visions in your mind as you keep your eyes closed and observe yourself in that
Mm.
situation and
Mm.
see what you look like to yourself. And
Mm.
therefore, begin the process of what meditation actually is all about, the process of self reflection. And in that, it feels like that your emotional intelligence has to kick in almost by definition in that sense that you can then gain that perspective of what we've been talking about in this interview today. And
Mm.
that will provide for the ability for the individual to lead again their own way out of all of this. It
Mm.
comes obviously from within. The scary part, of course, is the urgency. The scary part is the
Mhm.
hysteria. And the scary part is the relentlessness, which is that it's every day. For
Mm.
me, I like to think that I have a good day followed by a bad day, and I have to negotiate for that. And that means that I work out different ways to nourish myself, whether it's
Mm.
the um, talking to friends or eating better or making time for just a walk or a swim in the
Yeah.
pool if I'm lucky enough to have one. There's a lot of things that you can do,
Mm.
but we are so restricted now in what we're able
Mm.
to do that
Mm.
you have to reinvent your entire life.
Mm.
How do we introduce that as a concept to others to go, okay, this really is a big project that I'm in. It's no longer just about subsistence, hand to mouth living. How am I going to use my time for the best?
And for me, it's turning to something creative because that's what sustains us normally. So if you've never had a creative pursuit or never followed that, that's writing, artistic pursuit, something, meditation, yoga. So it's about working on that creative side that will also nourish your spiritual side. And, it's a very difficult thing as a human being when you can't have what you want and if you've always lived your life that way, and now suddenly you're just with yourself and your family stuck in a home, it's a very, very difficult, it's not something that just overnight I can change and be different. So for me, it's incremental steps. I think the first thing is to always have a routine when you're in this situation, have little markers along the way that you do. I do that with my daughter, what I'm doing in the morning, and then I go for a walk back and she's doing her schoolwork, and then we go for a walk. We might go to the shops, come back and do some things together. So I've got these things that I do that keep me anchored, but it's tough. It is very, very tough. So I would just start with small steps. The other side of that, the home with your children, I find that children are a lot more relaxed in a lot of ways. Well, I find that with my daughter. I mean, she is 12, having mum and dad around
Mm,
and coming back to that family time
mm.
there's such a gift in
Yes,
that communicating and being together.
yes.
There's a safety in that. There's a beauty in that.
Mm.
There's a cushioning, there's a softness in that.
Oh, you've just
Those things that you can do, yeah,
you've hit
together.
you have hit the jackpot out of I thought we were gonna go off in a million different ways, and clearly now we've set up for what will be an ongoing series of discussions. But the very notion that you have explained that with the time, just the time between parents and children that's been
Mm,
afforded to them
mhm,
is the answer to all of this. And
mm.
the relationship that we will have ongoing with our children will be impenetrable because of it. So,
Yes.
if the system is looking to break us and to make us dependent on them, those of us who are at home and who are becoming more self sufficient and more
Mm,
balanced in the process, the opposite is going to occur.
mm,
And therefore, you find that how you get a negative into a positive. I couldn't
mm.
have thought of it myself, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. I am eternally grateful for just that one answer that will replenish me today in what I was having a tough day already. So
Mm,
thank you
mm,
for that. That's just
mm.
incredible. Um, the time goes so quickly when we do these conversations. Do you think that we should perhaps look at, with about 10 minutes to go, are there any things that you might suggest for mums where they can start in their process? I know we went over it with lots of creativity, etc. But where can they think about researching, particularly about childbirth in what we've talked about in what is your profession? Where do they go next?
To me. You
Good.
can come
Well,
to
tell
me.
them how they get in touch with
And
you.
yeah, because I do a lot of counseling actually all over the world. And I do, it's for me, it's more intuitive, emotional counseling. Really listen to you. And this is what I think women are missing out on is being really heard in their depth
Mm,
and what it is that they're really concerned about. Because we have that rushing, impatient society. So I like to actually really hear what you have to say, what's bothering you, what the growth that's happening for you, everything about you. So I think that that's a really important skill that I personally have is to be able to listen. So I think you need to seek out people who are genuinely on this same path. And there are wonderful midwives within the system. There are wonderful people working within that, but they are getting more and more squeezed into what they can and cannot say. And I am so grateful that I am a voice of freedom. I am a free voice. I'm not owned
mm,
by anyone. I say that I sit under the umbrella of humanity. I
mm,
am for mothers and babies and children. And
mm,
I've raised and birthed 3 kids, so I've walked the walk, I've walked the path. So, go to people who you feel you resonate with. And we've got so many amazing social media platforms.
mm,
And, I'm a lot on Instagram, Maha Musa. And, there's so many amazing women doing offerings on Instagram in the light of this more intuitive, instinctual way of birthing and raising children and being parents. So it is out there if you are determined to find it. And we all need to stick together. That's why I love what you're doing, Jason. That's why I wanted to be on board here, because the more we can come together to know you are not alone, that
Mm.
is really important. To know you're not going mad, to know that there are others out there who feel and think the way that you do. And that can only amplify and grow our message. And we must connect. It's not good anymore to be doing our little individual things separately and not coming together. We have to come together,
Mm.
especially at this time. It is imperative
Yeah.
that we stick together and we form a strong bond against, as I said before, this tsunami. We are here. We want to help.
Yes.
And I am, as I said, earlier, I'm 60 next year. I am an elder now. So that wisdom that I carry, I want to pass it to you.
Yes.
I have to pass it to you. I need to pass it to you. So connecting the younger women with the older women that you resonate with is really important in my book and my
Yes.
vision for the future. We are
Yes.
not an island. We must collaborate. And I
Yes.
collaborate a lot with podcasts and interviews. And, I've got my programs and my counseling and my trainings. So we are here. We are looking for you. We are here. Yeah.
Which is wonderful, because it
Yeah.
means that for the mums at home that are watching, you are not alone. A
No.
million mums for informed consent is a starting point, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully enough of a resource that will stimulate and grow with you and your needs as you go, to provide for you that platform to rebuild what we're talking about. Now, unfortunately, all of life over the last 18 months has been, for most of us, through a computer screen. It's almost as if we have become living in the matrix. But the new friends that we've all made in this
Mm,
period of time are the ones that are sustaining us.
mm,
And sadly, it's our families that all are reporting that we're breaking up from. And so your digital friends are becoming your most genuine friends that you can rely upon, but won't remain digital forever. And that's
mm,
very, very, very important to understand. This morning, I made a post and I said, the world is now divided into four components: the farm owners, the sheepdogs, the sheep, and the black sheep.
mm,
Which one are you?
mm.
And I think that that's really important to know, that if you are the black sheep, you're certainly not the only one.
No.
And it seems that the black sheep are the ones that are going to lead us out of here.
Mm.
So, welcome aboard. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Maha, can you tell us, how would you like to summarize, or is there any last words that you'd like to add for the viewers who are watching today?
Mm. Well, I always, Jason, and to everybody, I never ever let go of hope. Hope is
Mm.
the anchor, the life raft for me. I will
Beautiful.
always have hope, which is looking at what is possible. And
Mhm.
I can only have that hope for the world if I carry the light of hope within myself. And
Yes.
that's what I'm asking everyone. Don't let that flame go out. Keep lighting that flame of hope and possibility, and that we will get through this. And whatever way it is, we will navigate our way through. Yeah, we will find the resources that whatever comes at us, we will navigate through. And I
Yes.
hold that light strong for all of us. Keep going, stay strong, stay grounded, stay anchored. We will find a way through, and you will find your tribe. Here they are. We are
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
You, you,
we
you
are
could
here.
you could not have said that any more
Mm,
perfectly. It is the same philosophy that I share, that no matter how hard it is, you must
mm,
always cling to some form of hope
mhm,
and something to look forward to, which says to you that if you are feeling hopeless, or that hopelessness has set in, that should be enough of a motivation, once you come to terms and recognize it, that now is the time I need to change something that I am doing.
Mm.
Rest assured that there is help available to you. That is the purpose of what we're doing here. But we're not doing it just to bring you back to net zero at all. What
Mm.
we are doing is showing you ways to rediscover your purpose for the
Mm.
very reason that you are born here and are born here at this exact time. This was meant to happen. We
Mm.
were here for this reason. And from that, you can only draw incredible strength that will show you the purpose for what you are doing. If it just makes you a better mum, hope to see you again soon. Well, we will, and I hope to see all our viewers again